Two men who poured kettles of boiling water over an elderly couple in a terrifying raid on their home have been jailed for life. Casey Adams, 33, Daniel Wallace, 32, and an unidentified third man tied up John Bimeswell, 66, and his wife Janice, 64, and repeatedly assaulted them as they demanded money. They made off with around £50,000 and were arrested on a plane at Heathrow Airport. After returning from a shopping spree in Dubai, their luggage was found to contain more than £18,000 of luxury goods, including Versace and Gucci clothes. In the video footage, police officers are seen opening the door to the plane and walking inside. After speaking with cabin crew, the men are let inside and walk through the plane until they find Adams and Wallace. They pin the men's hands to the seat in front and handcuff them. In the horrific attack, Adams and Wallace poured boiling water from a kettle over the couple's heads and bodies in an horrific 2-hour ordeal, having already beaten them and threatened them with a knife and a hot iron. Adams and Wallace eventually fled at around 11 p.m. with stolen cash and jewelry last month. Both men admitted aggravated burglary and causing grievous bodily harm with intent after bursting into the property, tying up and torturing their victims. In a separate case, Adams and Wallace were also previously convicted of conspiracy to commit murder following a drive-by shotgun shooting in Stanford-le-Hope, Essex, on May 10, 2016, left a victim with serious injuries including the loss of sight in one eye. Both men were today sentenced at Maidstone Crown Court to life imprisonment with a minimum of 12.5 years each behind bars before they are considered for parole. Drew Morris, aged 27 years and formerly of Rayleigh in Essex, was not in the house as the victims were being tortured, but was today jailed for 4.5 years, having previously admitted one count of burglary. The gang bound the businessman and his wife with cable ties before pouring water twice over her and once over him and attempting to cut one of his ears off in an attempt to find out the combinations of their two safes. Both victims were taken to hospital with serious injuries. The woman suffered around 30% burns to her body and required treatment in an intensive care unit for several months afterwards. Crime scene investigators recovered traces of Wallace's DNA from the fragments of a cup used to provide water to the victims before it was smashed against a wall at the home in London Road, Halstead, Kent, on April 26, 2016. Wallace, of no fixed address, and Adams, formerly of Covert Road, Hainault, Ilford, East London, were arrested on May 31 last year at Heathrow Airport, where they had returned from a shopping trip in Dubai. Judge Gratwick called the attackers highly dangerous, ruthless professional criminals. Prosecutor Tracy Ailing said, "Mr. Buswell said he would give them the money and took them to a downstairs bathroom where there was a small safe he thought containing £3,000 to £5,000. He was returned to the sitting room and was watching as Mrs. Buswell had another full kettle of boiling water tipped over her by Adams. Mrs. Buswell was screaming." Detective Inspector James Durham of the Kent and Essex Serious Crime Directorate said, Adams and Wallace smashed their way into the home of two elderly people before subjecting them to the most horrific ordeal. Between them they poured 2 kettles of boiling water over the woman's head and body and a further kettle over her husband. They have inflicted unimaginable pain and distress on 2 people who had worked hard throughout their lives and were looking forward to their retirement. The gratuitous, barbaric and utterly senseless actions of these 2 criminals have caused extensive physical and psychological scars to their victims. This is an extremely rare case that has shocked experienced detectives and which thankfully has now concluded with lengthy sentences. I would like to thank the victims for their courage and assistance throughout this investigation, which has helped bring these men to justice, and I hope today's sentences will help them to now rebuild their